If you're watching this tutorial, you're probably trying to do the holiday destination spreadsheet. So this is the file I'm viewing on the internet in the browser. In this case, I'm using Google Chrome browser. But as I've suggested, you might want to download the file, then you can add notes as you like. So if you go to File and Save As, that's one way of downloading the file. The reason I'm doing this is because if you've got it saved to your own computer, you can add your own notes, reminding yourself about how you went about doing it. So I'll enable editing, and you should see if you add notes, then they'll be automatically highlighted because it's tracking any changes made. So you probably want to save this to your own computer. And save it in a location you'll easily find. So it might be my documents. Probably not downloads because it can become a right mess. Just temporarily, I'm going to save this on the desktop. So obviously you could refer to those notes at a later date to tell you how to do stuff. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of that. That was just as an example of writing notes. So let's start. Open the spreadsheet and make sure it's clearly formatted and easy to read. So you should be able to open the spreadsheet by holding down Control, clicking the left mouse button, and that will open it in a browser. But again, you can do more if you save it to your own computer, so I advise saving it to your own computer. There's a few different ways for doing that. One might be opening Excel, but I prefer to do this save as download. Here it is. So I'm going to click on it to open it. And then once it's open on my own computer, I'm going to save it somewhere so it's easy to locate. Probably on the desktop again, to be honest. When I'd finished with it, I might well put them both in a folder and save them to my documents, because I like to try and keep my desktop fairly neat and tidy. But it's easier said than done sometimes. Enable editing. Any file that you get off the internet will come up with that warning. But if it's from a trusted source like your tutor, then it should be fine. Now, to be honest, I'm never that scared about Word documents or Excel documents I get off the internet. It's really applications or programs, and sometimes zip files that are most likely to cause you problems. So you know that warning that pops up says this is a program or this is an application. Are you sure you want to run it? That's when you need to be a bit careful, because programs can tell your computer to do all kinds of stuff. Okay, so here's the data. Just looking at it to begin with, it's all pretty samey in terms of formatting. It could look better. So just just on autopilot, really, always have a look at how things are set up and make them look good. So this is a title, so I'm going to make it look like a title. I could change the text size, make it bold, change the color, but I'm going to use this cell styles option and use the built-in title because it's fine and it's easier to do it like that. You can see these are column headings. Now often column headings are just need one cell, but these are kind of spread over two cells, which is a bit awkward sometimes, but because normally I would highlight my table and click on format as table and do that. My table as headers, but it only really works when you've got them with one cell. So I'm not going to use that trick this time. I'm just going to format these slightly differently. It's a bit big. That's okay. There we go, it's a little better. Because it distinguishes the column headings from the data. Now you can see they don't fit everything in the columns. Column A is obviously too narrow. So if you see the pointer when it's in between A and B, you can drag that to however wide you want it, or double click, and it does it automatically. Although in this case you don't want it that wide because you don't need to contain the whole title there. But here, double click. You can just highlight them all and double click one of them, and it does it all pretty quickly and nicely for you. Some people like to draw lines around it and stuff like that, which is fine if you like that kind of thing. But I don't, to be honest. So you've just shown the examiners that you care a bit about how it's formatted. These numbers, they're all consistent, no decimal places, which is fine. If they were inconsistent, then you'd go in this number area and add or remove decimal places or change how it's shown. But these tasks are mostly about using functions, so I'm going to go back to my Word document. Open the spreadsheet and make sure it's clearly formatted and easy to read. That's what we've just done. Amend the worksheet to calculate and show the average high and low temperatures for each destination. Okay, so it's calculating stuff. So the way to calculate stuff is always pressing equals, but first we need somewhere for it to go. So average high. Oops. Change that in a minute. Average. Actually, I might just nick that. So copying, Control and C, paste, Control and V. Copy to Control and C, paste, Control and V. Or you might do copy by doing right click and copy, and paste by doing right click and paste. Whichever you like, really. If you get this annoying dashing line and you want to get rid of it, escape will do the job. That's the top left key on your keyboard. Okay, so this is a bit more awkward than some calculations because you're not using the whole row, you're just using bits of it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So you're calculating stuff. The first step is always click where you want your answer. The second step is always equals to tell the computer you want to work something out. And if you just look up here, I'll get rid of the equals. Okay, it just says what cell we're in. As soon as we press equals, it starts thinking about what functions we want to use. Now, we don't want to use if, we want to use no prizes for guessing, average. So, click where you want your answer, press equals because you're working something out, and then choose your function. Now, it's guessing that we want to do the average of all the cells from C5 to P5. So all of these, which is usually the kind of thing we want to do, but in this case we only want the averages of the high temperatures. So we only want the averages of C5, E5, etc. Now I could type in C5, E5, and all that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use this to say I'm going to choose the cells on the spreadsheet. So if I click that, then I can choose the cells. So I want this one, and I also want this one over here. So if I just click it, it doesn't work. I can't have them both at the same time unless I hold down a specific key, not Shift, because that does all the ones in between, but Control, bottom left of your keyboard, CTRL. Keep your finger held down on that, and I'll tell you when to let go. So you've got your finger down on Control, you click the ones you're after, that you're interested in, I should say, and here we go. There's the cells. Once you've finished selecting those cells, you can hit enter or click there to get back to your thingy, your function arguments. Right, so it's going to give us 36 and just over a half. So looking at those numbers, or those values, then yeah, that's what we're after. Looks right. Press OK. There it is. Now, Excel isn't designed to make your life more difficult, despite what you might think. It's designed to make your life easier. So you're never typing it in again and again. You can copy it down, and the way you do that is if you move the cursor over this black box in the bottom right, it changes to a black cross, and then you can drag your formula, which copies it down to the rest of the column. Now, hopefully you're saying, Dave, that's rubbish. Look, the numbers are completely inconsistently formatted. If so, kudos to you. So, to do them consistently, you can use these buttons to decrease decimals, or you can choose number, and it's just going to do them all the same. You might say, oh, I'll right click and format cells, because some people do it like that. Okay, so now we've done one, it's easy to do the other. Click where you want your answer, equals because you're working something out, choose your function, choose the cells. The only difficult bit is remembering to hold down Control so you can highlight different areas like that. Or if you want to do it old school, you might have written down the cells and put commas in between. But this is actually quicker, I think. When you're finished, if you hit enter or click OK, that's your job done there. So now we can copy it down to the rest of the column. And what I'm thinking is I should have done all of these before changing how the numbers are formatted. But there we go, you live and learn. Okay, consistent. That's what we're always after, is consistency. So there's two functions. What else did they ask for? Include the highest and lowest temperatures over the week for each destination. Weekly high, weekly low. Right, click where you want your answer. Equals because you're working it out. Choose your function. Now, common sense, max. Max returns the largest value in a set of values. That's what you want. So, let's just check what cells it's after. C5 to R5. No, we don't want to include the average, that's stupid. We want to include the raw data, so let's get rid of R5 and put P5. And just checking them. Yeah, 38 is the highest. Good. Copy that down. You might think, what's the point? It's really quick to find it yourself, but it's not that quick. And another point is, if you copy this data and use it for another week, and you put different temperatures in, this will always work itself out straight off as soon as you change the values. That's the advantage of using functions. Weekly low, well, if that was the high, then it's pretty easy to do the low. Click where you want your answer, equals because you're working something out. We did max, so it must be min. Now, always check the cells. You'll know that those are wrong. We actually only want C5 to P5. Last time I showed you by typing it in, so this time I'm going to click that and show you by just highlighting the appropriate cells. Now I don't need to hold down Control this time because they're all in a row, so I can just drag a box around them. I don't know why it's got a plus in there, that's weird. I just want C5 to P5, so I'm going to get rid of that. Check it, 23, that's what we're after, good. Copy it, copy it down. Okay. Checking those answers, they look about right. So that's that bit done. Include the highest and lowest temperatures over the week for each destination. I might tick them off. Yes. Yes. And you see I'm just writing as little as possible really. Because I don't really like writing loads of stuff. Whatever you write down is for you. You write whatever you need to read to help remind you how to do tasks. Get the spreadsheet to highlight any cells where the highest temperature exceeds 35 degrees. So we're talking about the highest temperature. And it's not doing it ourselves, it's getting the spreadsheet to do it. So let's have a look. So I assume they mean the weekly high here. So obviously you could say, well, I can see that that and that and that and that and that and that exceed 35 degrees, so I'll just make them look like that. That's great, but what happens when your data changes and your weekly high becomes less for some reason? Maybe the next week it'll still be red, so that won't look very clever, because then you'll have 34 there, but it'll still be red. So this is why, as much as possible, we want it to automatically do these kind of things. So I just hit undo then. I could have done that undo up there. Always remember undo, it's really useful. I use Control and Z as a shortcut key for undo, because I'm a geek and geeks love to use shortcut keys. Highlight any cells where the temperature exceeds 35 degrees. So that doesn't include 35, it's anything over 35. So what we want is the computer to format the cells based on a condition. So it's this area we're interested in, and formatting cells based on a condition is called conditional formatting. So lots of different options. Color scales is quite nice. That'll automatically do different colors based on how high the values are. You can see that. But we're only interested in one band really, which is above 35. So that would be highlight cells rules. You can see it's got to be greater than. If you want to do greater than or equal to, then go down to more rules. So guess is what we might want. A guess 36. We don't want that. We want 35. So just type it in. Change how it looks if you want there, but that's fine for me. OK it. Done. Conditional formatting can be really useful. You know, if you've got imminent dates on your spreadsheet, you can format them in red, or people haven't paid their bills, all kinds of stuff. Okay, sort the spreadsheet by country and then further destination within each country. So this is sorting. So there's loads of different ways to sort it. If you remember at the start I said I like to use format as table. That makes sorting really, really easy. But we can't format this as a table easily because we've got 2 cells for each column heading. So we're going to do sort kind of the old-fashioned way really. And that is to highlight the cells that are going to be moving around and then click on sort. In the olden days we used to click on data and then sort, but this will do as well. Now I quite like custom sort because you can be pretty explicit about exactly what you want to happen. So it said we wanted to sort by country first, which is column B, but it said then we want to sort by destination within each country. So we need a second level of sorting to make sure those destinations are in order. So let's do that. So you see our countries, the first thing, they're all in alphabetical order. Then within each country, Athens comes before Thebes. Barca comes before the other ones. So you always check it, and that's perfect. So that's sorting. What most people do if they make a mistake with sorting is something like this. They'll just highlight one column. So we do high temperature, and then they'll say, "I'll sort that column, please." And that's when it'll give you this error message and say, "Do you want to expand the selection?" Now, it's saying you do to begin with. It's guessing that you do, and you do because you don't want to sort these and leave everything else in the same place, because they'll be attached to the wrong destination then, and your spreadsheet will be completely wrong. So you have to expand the selection to include the whole row. But what it's done is include the column headings. So that's a bit annoying. Undo. Control and Z if you like, using shortcut keys. Anyway, so that's what the sort they asked for, but I just thought I'd let you know about that problem that often occurs. So make sure you highlight the whole row before you do your sort. Okay, we've done that. choose a destination that isn't one of the highlighted hottest destinations and make a chart showing its temperatures over the week. So, where do I want to go? Well, I think I probably want to go to Barcelona in Spain. So we're talking about the hottest about its temperatures over the week. It didn't ask us for the averages or the weekly high, just asked us for that data basically. Now, of course, you want to have labels basically of what the data is about. So I tend to include these column headings as well. Now, I held down Control because if I didn't, I just selected that lot or that cell range and then tried to select the other cell range and I wouldn't have been able to. So whenever you want to highlight two distinct areas, hold down Control before dragging that with your mouse and letting go of the mouse and then letting go of Control. So now we've got all the cells we want. This is highlighted. They just make it white, well, for whatever reason. I think it's because if you type it'll end up in there. So that's all highlighted. Where's chart? In the olden days it used to be really easy to get to, but now they've hidden it in insert. And we've got all these different types of chart. Now to me, this would obviously be a column chart. But if you're not sure, then read about when each kind of chart is recommended. To be honest, it's going to be a column chart or a pie chart really for most of the level 2 assessments. Use a pie chart if you're talking about percentages, otherwise a column chart. Now obviously that's a simplification, but it should pretty much be good. Okay, so you can see this low-high business is working quite nicely. This whole x-axis thing going across is nice. This is a bit dicey because it's not saying that it's degrees Celsius. This is pointless because we've only got one resort. This title is rubbish because it doesn't say what the chart shows really. So we've got a few bits of work to do on this. So first thing, we want some title here and a title there. And the way you do that in the newer version of Office is just have a look at these different chart layouts. We open it up by clicking on that bit there. So I like this one because it's got titles and it hasn't got that key or legend thing in the corner. Ugh. Actually, I don't like it because it hasn't got gaps between the bars. So let's look around a little bit for one that's similar to that but has gaps. What about this? That's alright, just need to get rid of that. So you can get rid of these things just by clicking on them and pressing delete. And now you see you've got more space. Title here, so I'll click in there. Temperature in Celsius. It's actually easier for me to write in Celsius than bother trying to insert that little degree symbol. Now, to be honest, you might think that you don't need to include day. You probably got a point. Shall I just get rid of it? Yeah, why not? Now, if I knew what week it was, I'd probably include that because it would make more sense to whoever's looking at the graph, but I don't, so I'll just use that. The idea is usually you have 3 titles, and usually you make the title of the graph descriptive enough for the graph to be able to be inserted into another kind of document and still make sense. Because it should summarize all this data, so you shouldn't need to look at the table basically. Okay, so that's that one done, I think. Okay, so at that stage, I would save the spreadsheet, probably put your name on it, and then that would enable me to send it back to your tutor for any feedback. Okay, I hope this tutorial was helpful. Just remind you, write notes on these if you needed to learn anything new to them, because it will really help when you need to refer back to them. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.